There is a specific psychological friction in the fact that we often feel more connected to the world in a silent, empty forest than we do in a crowded city street. This tension is the core of the Powell Andromeda poem, a short Tamil work designed for a vertical digital frame. While it utilizes nature imagery, the piece functions as an emotional trap, using predictable patterns to build a very specific expectation in the viewer. To understand the isolation of the ending, we have to reverse engineer the mathematical rhythm of the opening stanzas. Examining how this structure is built and eventually broken reveals the mechanics behind why urban environments can feel so uniquely alienating. The poem begins with a clear transformation. I spoke to the river, I became the ocean. This establishes the work's primary structural formula. We can map this as a rule of reciprocal communion. Observation plus communication equals metamorphosis. When the narrator speaks to the river, the environment responds. The speaker scales up, transforming from a singular point into the vastness of the ocean. The formula is consistent across scales. In later stanzas, speaking to a tree yields a seed, and speaking to the flowers yields honey. Within this natural world, every act of dialogue triggers a change that grounds the speaker. The narrator is never just a witness, they are a participant in the ecosystem. As the poem progresses, it expands this formula into grander, more abstract scales. In the world of the poem, speaking to clouds creates rain, reaching out to the moon brings the night, and speaking to that night transforms the narrator into fireflies. Even the invisible becomes tangible. The wind, once spoken to, transforms into a series of visible musical notes. This reaches a peak in the final cosmic escalation, where speaking to the sky transforms the narrator into a star. After 9 stanzas of this, the audience is conditioned to expect a metamorphosis. The rhythm hypnotizes us into believing that any interaction will result in a meaningful connection. By establishing this as an unbreakable law of the poem's universe, the author lowers our defenses for the final scene. The setting then shifts from the timeless cosmos to a modern, bustling city. The narrator attempts the established formula one last time, stating, I spoke to everyone. Because the poem spent so much time building the pattern, we expect a transformation. But here, the equation shatters. The result is a failure of metamorphosis. I couldn't find myself. This is structural dissonance. By breaking the rule at the most crowded moment of the poem, the narrator's isolation becomes the most prominent feature of the story. In nature, the speaker is absorbed and elevated. In the crowd, the speaker is ignored and erased. The poem highlights a sharp distinction between the volume of interactions we have in modern life and the depth of actual dialogue. It suggests that when the crowd fails to reflect who we are, we have to look away from the numbers to find a different kind of nature.